Hello, and welcome to another decisions training video. Today we are going to be discussing high performance implications regarding a particular area of the report designer. That area is pagination, or more specifically, not utilizing pagination. So, pagination sections data rows into pages that are loaded independently when viewing a report. So, sounds like a pretty good thing. What's the issue here? Well, the issue can occur when results are not paginated. Because what will happen is if you have a lack of pagination, this can result in the report trying to load all records on one page, which can impact performance. Let me illustrate this for you, okay? So, when you have a report that is paginated, some of the rows are going to show up on page 1, and then when the user goes to another page, then those rows are going to load instead. What happens when you don't have pagination is that when the user loads up page 1, all of the rows are going to load on that page, which again can have performance impacts. So you want to consider this when designing your reports. So, pagination best practices are going to be one, actually using paging. You can do this by clicking a little checkbox that says use paging in the report designer. You have to make sure that you are selected on the report properties and not the field properties in order to get this checkbox. You also want to be careful about implementation of in-memory data pagination. This is a setting that can be toggled where pagination is toggled in the report designer. And what it does is it means that the entire data set will be loaded into memory. Now, if the server runs out of memory, this is going to have a huge performance impact. So if your server is already using a lot of memory, doing this may not be advisable. However, if the server does have enough memory, this typically means that the report is going to load faster. So it's an important consideration to make when you are designing reports for your end users to see. The key is to understand the server resources before making the decision to toggle this on or off. So now that's covered, let me give you a little demo on how this works in the environment, shall we? All right, here I am inside of my decisions environment, specifically the report designer. Here I have the element registration data source, which is the decision's default data source. It typically has over 3,000 records on a clean install. Therefore, for our purposes, you can expect a lot of records here that will allow us to test this pagination out. Now right here, I'm in the report properties. If I click on a field, I'm going to go into the field properties. In order to go back to the report properties, click on the light gray in the background. This will allow us to get to pagination, which is going to be under the results drop-down section. So here I am using paging. Here I've specified 500 rows per page. And over here I have the in-memory data pagination set to default, which is going to match whatever your portal settings say. So if I want to put yes in this, then it is going to store the data in memory. Now watch what happens when I run this. It's going to take a little bit because there are quite a lot of records, right? And over here, you can see that I have 500 records per page. This page scroller gets added down here to the bottom right. Let's say that I want to do just 10 per page. If I were to run this now, as you can see, I now have 10 rows per page. Now, what happens if I turn paging off? Well, you might expect there to be, well, no paging, right? But that's not quite the case. Watch what happens. Instead, it's going to change my paging, once this decides to load, to 1,000, right down here. Why is that? Well, that's because of a portal setting. If you go to System, Settings, and then Portal Settings, you can then scroll down until you see the Report Viewer section, and you'll see an automatic paging threshold value. So even if you have paging turned off, this value is still going to limit the amount of rows per page, just in case you unintentionally try to load everything on the first page. So you can make this bigger, of course, which would allow you to basically have no pagination, or on the report itself, you can just set the rows per page to be an absurdly large number. This will allow you to have no paging on your dashboard. So if I were to run this now, you'll see that it acts as if there is no paging on the report whatsoever. So this is an important design consideration. Trying to load all records at once can have performance implications for your environment. So you want to implement paging wherever you can and determine how many records should load per page to best optimize your environment and give a better end user experience. Thank you very much for watching. Hope this helped.